Uh-oh, hurricane alert! Everyone's hiding! The speed of the wind outside is more than 75 miles per hour. Seems like a lot, but this storm is moving at 400 miles per hour. Wait, do such speeds exist? Yep, but to see a storm that fast, you'll have to travel to Jupiter. So let the journey begin. The planet is huge. Almost 1,300 Earths could fit into this gas giant. It's also incredibly hot, with the temperatures reaching about 43,000 degrees Fahrenheit at the planet's core. Unfortunately, you can't land on Jupiter's surface because, well, being a gas giant, it doesn't have any solid surface. But you can go deeper into Jupiter's atmosphere. Look at these thick brown, yellow, red, and white clouds passing by. They're what make the planet look colorful and kind of striped. If you continue descending toward the center of the planet, you'll see its atmosphere, mostly made up of hydrogen and helium gas, becoming liquid. It happens because of immense atmospheric pressure. The planet's core itself is a mysterious object. Scientists still haven't figured out whether it's a molten ball of thick liquid or a solid rock 14 to 18 times the mass of Earth. Anyway, exploring Jupiter isn't the main goal of your trip. No, you've arrived here to see the Great Red Spot. It's an enormous storm raging in the southern hemisphere of the gas giant. Its top parts are towering more than 5 miles above the tops of the surrounding clouds. The storm is 1.3 times wider than our planet. In 2017, NASA's Juno space probe managed to collect lots of data about the red spot. And it turned out that this monster of a storm goes more than 200 miles down into the planet's atmosphere. That's 30 to 100 times deeper than any ocean on Earth. But these measurements are most likely imprecise, and the storm's true roots can be reaching even deeper. The Great Red Spot is colder than the rest of the atmosphere. And keep in mind that Jupiter's temperatures are minus 234 degrees Fahrenheit in the upper cloud layers. On the other hand, the closer to the core, the hotter it gets. Mysteriously, the highest temperatures ever recorded on the gas giant occurred in the atmosphere right above the Great Red Spot. There, the heat reached 2,400 degrees. This temperature is higher than that of lava on our planet. Astronomers believe that the turbulence caused by the storm might produce gravitational and sound waves that can be responsible for the superheating. But the storm itself is warmer at the bottom than at the top. People have been watching the moving vortex on Jupiter for more than 150 years. Some time ago, astronomers predicted that it would gradually slow down and become smaller or disappear entirely. But that turned out not to be the case. After having analyzed all the data received with the help of the Hubble Space Telescope, researchers were baffled to discover that the winds at the outer boundaries of the storm had actually picked up speed. The change in the wind speed is no more than 1.5 miles per hour during one Earth year. It's a tiny change, but however small the difference is, it still means a lot. The wind speed at the edges of the storm can reach a mind-boggling 400 miles per hour. That's faster than Earth's tornadoes. At the same time, if you found yourself at the center of the Great Red Spot, you wouldn't be too impressed. The winds there move way more slowly. Scientists faced lots of challenges when they were trying to understand the mystery that was the Great Red Spot. It's unclear what fuels the storm. Can it be the nature of the storm's home planet? Since it's a gas giant, Jupiter doesn't have any solid ground, so there's no friction, which might be the only thing that could make the storm weaken. The hot gases in the planet's atmosphere are always moving, rising, falling, swirling, just like on our home planet, where cooler and warmer air mix and merge into one another, forming giant circling storms. Astronomers think that once, several enormous storms could have come together and created the Great Red Spot. And now, it keeps going by constantly drawing cool gases from below and hot gases from above. Plus, the storm might be absorbing other smaller vortices. This makes the Great Red Spot even more powerful. A black hole is a place where gravity is so strong that even light can't get out. But black holes can sometimes behave like a massive galactic volcano. From time to time, they flare up. Sounds like me. But instead of spewing lava, they produce enormous amounts of energy. And this phenomenon leaves gaping holes in the surrounding material and gas. A short while ago, scientists discovered one of the largest craters in the universe. Radio and X-ray telescopes detected a supermassive black hole that threw a temper tantrum many years ago. It happened in a galaxy cluster about 390 million light-years away from Earth. The crater this event left behind could fit 15 Milky Way galaxies. Yeah, I can't get my head around that either. During your space voyage, think twice before landing on unknown planets. Otherwise, you may end up in a place like K2 141b. That's a planet outside of our solar system. At first glance, it's not that different from Earth. It has liquid oceans that evaporate, form clouds, condense, and get back to the surface as rain. But instead of water, it rains rocks. The surface of this exoplanet is covered with lava seas dozens of miles deep. The temperatures on the K2 141b reach 5,000 degrees during the day. That's toasty enough for the magma in the oceans to vaporize into the atmosphere. Then, supersonic winds, which can move at the speed of 1 mile per second, carry this rock vapor into the planet's night side. The vaporized magma cools down, becomes liquid again, and falls as a rocky rain. Not a vacation spot. Too hot. I'll pass.
There are almost no similarities between Earth and Jupiter. Ours is a sweet, small planet with plants and cute pandas. Jupiter is a giant gas horror with furious hurricanes which never subside. And if you fall into this planet, you might literally fly through it. But what would happen if our Earth was the size of the father of the solar system? Oh, this is going to be fun. Jupiter is a planet so big that I bet you can't even imagine its scale. Its radius is about 11 times the radius of Earth, and it's about 316 times more massive. So, to turn Earth into another Jupiter, we'd need to increase its radius by 11 times. If the planet's density remained the same, then the mass of our new Earth would increase greatly. Actually, it'd be as much as 4 times larger than Jupiter's. Of course, these changes wouldn't go smoothly. The very first thing that we would immediately notice, nope, not the size, gravity. It would increase by about 11 times compared to old Earth's. Scientists say we can actually survive on a planet with greater gravity, but only if it's less than 5 times stronger than what we have now. Well, let's assume that we're daredevils, always ready to challenge nature. What would our life be like? Well, not very pleasant. After each step, you'd have to sit down on a bench and take a break, as if you've just run a marathon. Yes, it would be that hard to walk. Oh, and good luck with getting up later. In order to somehow move around this planet, we'd have to pump up very strong muscles. No more problems with junk food, because you'd have to become a heavy lifter just to get to the refrigerator. The force of gravity affects not only movement, but also the size of everything. Do you know that many astronauts gain some height due to weightlessness in space? So if you're worried about being short, here's a solution for you. On the other hand, strong gravity would make us all shorter. This would go not only for humans, but for everything on our planet. Trees would become very small. To grow upward, they would have to move water from their roots to branches, which would be unrealistic with such gravity. So they'd all turn into little bushes. Also, no more mountains. Even the largest ones would become very small. But at least, now, everyone would be able to conquer Everest. This would also apply to animals. Our pets would have to quickly evolve into pumped-up corgis just to be able to walk somehow. Oh, and say goodbye to birds, of course. If you think that's not enough suffering, let's add another thing. It would be very difficult for us to breathe. Atmospheric pressure would increase dramatically. That's because Earth would start to pull air toward itself with great force. You'd literally feel the weight of it on your shoulders. Remember what I said about taking a break after each step? Now, imagine that you'd also have to breathe through a pillow. Yeah. And that's not all. Atmospheric pressure plays an important role in the behavior of water molecules. It would be much more difficult for water to boil or turn into ice. Most icebergs would melt, and it's possible that we'd have no more clouds, too. All water vapor would come crashing down on us in giant torrents of rain. We'd be lucky if we didn't get flooded instantly. But, oddly enough, there would also be some advantages. For example, everything around us would become much more spacious. Assuming we didn't get flooded, there would even be a bunch of deserted areas on the planet. Maybe land prices would finally fall. But these unexplored areas would most likely remain unexplored, since we'd hardly be able to travel across seas and oceans. Not only because moving across the water would be incredibly difficult, but also because all water bodies on the planet would become 10 times larger. The very thought of getting lost in the ocean is frightening, but imagine if it was 10 times deeper and bigger? Uh-oh. So, no more sailing. And forget about flying by plane, or visiting space ever again. But it seems like it's still not all. If Earth was the size of Jupiter, we'd also have volcanoes raging everywhere. Due to the increase in its mass, Earth would become terribly unstable. All extinct volcanoes would become active again, and there would be lava and poisonous gases everywhere. In 1883, there was the most destructive eruption in the history of humankind, the eruption of the Krakatoa volcano. It occurred on one small island, but people all over the planet could feel the consequences. The eruption destroyed the island, triggered many tsunamis, and clouds of poisonous gases spread for miles. Now imagine this, but 10 times worse. That's what would happen on our Jupiter-sized Earth. It would probably be similar to the fall of the Chicxulub meteorite, the one that wiped dinosaurs off the face of the Earth. Then, poisonous gases spread all over the planet, causing one of the greatest massive extinctions in the history of Earth. Oh, and we would also lose the magnetic field, like the cherry on top of the cake. The magnetic field is very important for life on Earth. According to Rory Barnes from the University of Washington, it shields life on the planet from the nastiness of space, which means all sorts of radiation and solar winds. There's a molten iron core inside our planet that is responsible for producing the magnetic field. If the amount of pressure on this core increased due to gravity, it could solidify. And because of this, Earth's magnetic field would disappear. We would be exposed to the effects of cosmic radiation. Too scary to even imagine. Alright, so now we know that living on this new Earth would be a real nightmare. But what about outer space? You've probably heard that Jupiter, thanks to its strong gravity, protects us from asteroids. Well, this would become our job. Jupiter experiences about 24,000 collisions a year, and now it'd be our destiny. Do you remember me mentioning the Chicxulub meteorite? Similar tragedies happen to our planet once every 100 million years or so. But if it became the size of Jupiter, these guys would visit us every Friday. Also, we'd have to say bye-bye to the moon. Our natural satellite is too close to us. So if Earth grew in size, it would be a real catastrophe. We would literally watch the moon being torn apart in the sky. Of course, after that, all these fragments would crash into us. One of the theories claims that billions of years ago, the moon somehow separated from Earth, and its pieces gathered into a ball. Now, it would be like watching its creation rewind. And even if the moon survived, somehow remaining in Earth's orbit, the changes in the tides would still be dramatic. The consequences of these changes would be very unpredictable, but probably a bunch of tsunamis would be some of them. On the other hand, we'd probably gain a couple of new moons. Jupiter has as many as 79 of them. It would probably be a spectacular view, if only gas clouds from all those volcanic eruptions didn't block it. Also, the appearance of a second giant planet would have significant consequences for the whole solar system. Don't worry, other planets wouldn't crash into us. Many people underestimate just how far the planets are from one another. But still, the new Earth would shift the orbits of other planets a little and affect their rotation speed. And Earth itself would rotate around the Sun much more slowly because of its huge mass. For example, 1 year equals 12 Earth years on Jupiter. All this, of course, would greatly affect seasons and the climate in general. So, would there be life on Earth? Bold of you to even ask this question. But if one day we do manage to find a habitable super-Earth close to Jupiter in size, it would be very interesting to take a look at it.
When you explode planets, things get red hot. Atmospheres are pulled away. Stuff is flying apart. Everything collapses. The world becomes brighter than a dozen suns. You squeeze your eyes shut and cover your ears. Your hair stands on end. The sheer power of a cosmic blast is terrifying. But how can you do it? How can you blow up, let's say, Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system? Thick brown, yellow, red, and white clouds hide its surface, making the planet look colorful and beautifully striped. First of all, we shouldn't forget that the gas giant's powerful gravity is holding it together, which is the reason for the planet's spherical shape. And we would need to add a lot of energy to blow it apart. But here's the problem. If we used some explosive material for our goal, it wouldn't be very efficient. A lot of energy would get radiated as heat in the process. The mass of Jupiter equals 318 Earth's masses and about 1,000th of the mass of the Sun. The gas giant's diameter is also more than 11 times greater than that of Earth. It would be around a quarter of the distance from Earth to the Moon. So, can you imagine the enormous binding energy that keeps Jupiter together? Now, experts claim that to explode this space giant, you'd need a pile of nuclear explosives as heavy as 4 moons. Can you imagine it? Or let's take another unit. A highly explosive material known as TNT. How much of it would you need to blow up Jupiter? The answer is 50 megatons. And 1 megaton is 1,000,000 tons of TNT. These are some huge numbers. They also mean that if you made Jupiter out of TNT and blew it up, the explosion wouldn't produce enough energy to blow the planet itself apart. It would puff up more and more. But gravity would still manage to pull all the stuff Jupiter is made of back together. But let's suppose you somehow managed to find an enormous amount of explosives that would be enough to get rid of Jupiter. You hit the button, sitting in your spacecraft, hovering over the giant planet. Something is going on down there on Jupiter, but it's unlike anything that would happen to a rocky planet. Instead of chunks of solid crust, you see jet streams of gas accelerating away from the planet's center. It's what used to be Jupiter's atmosphere, made up of hydrogen and helium gas. In no time, the matter hurtling away into space turns liquid. That's hydrogen in its different form. Under immense atmospheric pressure, this gas becomes liquid closer to the center of the planet. A bit later, you notice that the liquid becomes different again. Now, it's a mixture of metallic hydrogen and helium. And finally, something solid. It might be Jupiter's core, which is 14 to 18 times the mass of Earth. The blast lasts no more than half a second. And still, the explosion is millions of times brighter than the sunshine. It's so powerful, it evaporates smaller planets like Mars and Earth. The sun remains pretty much untouched. It gets hotter and kinda unstable for a bit. But it doesn't last long. How would the disappearance of Jupiter affect our solar system? For one thing, this gas giant shepherds the asteroid belt. And without Jupiter out there, the belt might grow unstable. It would lead to an increase in the amount of debris invading the inner solar system. Plus, the gas giant also acts as a sponge, absorbing rogue chunks of rock and not letting them enter the inner solar system. So, it's great that Jupiter is practically indestructible, unless it collides with an object as huge as the Sun, of course. Or you could probably scoop the planet up a bit at a time. It would certainly take a while. One hypothetical project called a Jupiter brain suggests taking Jupiter apart and turning it into a planet-sized supercomputer. And you know what? Some advanced technological civilization could probably do it, but not us humans yet. How about a mysterious object that used to orbit between Mars and Jupiter? At one point in the early days of the solar system, it was destroyed by some catastrophic event. This space body is called Feton, and this planet is totally hypothetical. But some people believe that the debris the planet left behind could have formed the asteroid belt. If you like this kind of content, please give it a non-hypothetical like and subscribe. Your support is very important to us. Thank you. Now, at the start of the 19th century, people hadn't discovered the asteroid belt yet. But in 1801, one astronomer spotted the largest asteroid in our solar system, Ceres. At that time, it was believed that a planet was orbiting between Mars and Jupiter, and Ceres seemed to be a suitable candidate. But the next year, another astronomer discovered one more space object with a similar orbit. It was an asteroid that was later named Pallas. These discoveries made scientists conclude that these two objects could have been fragments of the very planet that had once been dwelling between Mars and Jupiter. The following discovery of two more asteroids, Juno and Vesta, seemed to confirm this idea. Only in the 20th century did the hypothetical planet get its name, Feton. It was actually a name taken from Greek mythology, meaning shining one. The hero with this name was the son of the sun deity, Helios, who rode his solar chariot across the sky every day, giving humans the heat and light necessary for survival. One day, Helios allowed Feton to drive his chariot. But the sun didn't manage to control the horses. Everything went wrong, and Earth was about to burn down. That's why the main deity, Zeus, had to stop Feton with a thunderbolt. The idea of the asteroid belt being the sad result of the planet's destruction was called the disruption theory. And of course, there were several ideas explaining the planet's tragic fate. The most obvious one is that Feton was hit by a large space object. It could be another hypothetical body called Nemesis. Some people believe that it's our sun's companion star. According to this theory, the sun has a small companion star that has an extremely elliptical orbit. This orbit periodically brings it close to the Oort cloud, a large sphere of icy objects surrounding the sun. This, in turn, causes a lot of mess. It might be the reason why this hypothetical companion star was also nicknamed the Death Star. It might be a red or brown dwarf. But whatever it is at the furthest point of its orbit, it's believed to be about 1.5 light-years away. The search for this star has been in progress for decades, but no one has succeeded in locating this elusive and potentially non-existent space object. Anyway, back to Feton. Another theory claims that the planet could have suffered some internal cataclysm which tore it apart. But these days, the disruption theory has fallen out of favor. It was replaced by the accretion theory. According to it, the asteroid belt formed in the process of gradual buildup of particles initially floating in a gaseous environment. With time, they came together to create larger masses. Gravity pulled on these particles, encouraging them to stay together and form planetesimals, tiny planet-like bodies that later form real planets. Planetesimals kept colliding with one another, eventually developing into protoplanets. Such protoplanets grow until they form planetary bodies. As the mass of objects increases, the gravitational forces acting between particles become stronger too, continuing to build gas, dust, and ice within the nebular disk. It all has a snowball effect where the increase in mass results in more particles getting involved in the process. Eventually, there's no building material left, and large space objects float in the darkness of space. Now, many experts think that the asteroid belt is the remains of the protoplanetary disk which had once been orbiting the sun before the planets formed. Unfortunately, it never had a chance to coalesce into a planet because Jupiter's gravitational effect prevented it from happening. In any case, even though Feton's was a good story, it's not popular anymore. There are 8 planets in our solar system, and they're all very different from one another. That's why, if one day they unexpectedly and inexplicably turned into humans, these people wouldn't look alike, and their characters would differ dramatically. Let's try to imagine what humans the planets of the solar system would make. Do you like our videos? Write about it in the comments, and please subscribe to our channel. Let me introduce Mercury. It's a curious and swift teenager around 13. 15 years old. He's always on the move and is a bit hard to pin down. He's into sports and tends not to walk but dash around. That's one of the reasons his knees and elbows are always scratched. He's just like the planet Mercury with all its countless craters. Now, meet Venus. It's a beautiful young lady in her mid-20s. She likes to keep her secrets, and her alluring beauty comes with a temperamental side. At parties, she easily attracts attention because of the mystery surrounding her. But those who dare strike up a conversation with this beauty soon realize that she's scorchingly direct and doesn't tolerate nonsense. Earth is in her late 20s. She is very pretty and extroverted, and has a nurturing, balanced personality, forever the peacemaker, trying to maintain harmony. Earth is the one everyone turns to for advice and comfort. She has a pretty unusual hobby, collecting different life forms, like someone who always brings home stray animals. And if she feels that something or someone is a threat to her beloved pets, she can get furious. Mars is a cool guy in his early 20s. He's ginger and sturdy. He's that ambitious and a bit annoying younger brother, living in Earth's shadow. But he doesn't give up and is determined to make a name for himself. He's a great fan of adventure and exploration, that very type who enjoys camping, wilderness, and slightly dangerous activities. His guilty pleasure is Googling stories about ancient warriors. Jupiter is in his early 50s. He is that protective elder with a bigger-than-life personality. He is a respected head of a large family, known for his wisdom and jovial nature. He also loves to throw big parties that sometimes get out of hand. Saturn, an elegant lady in her late 40s, is stylish and timeless. She is always the best-dressed person at any gathering. She's known for her beauty and has a calm, sophisticated demeanor. She loves accessories, especially elaborate rings. She's got quite a collection. Uranus is in his late 30s, and he has an unconventional, quirky personality. If you have a problem and need a different perspective on something, he's the one to go to. No wonder his planet counterpart has a unique axial tilt. Uranus isn't afraid to be different. He enjoys innovative and boundaries-pushing art, and some suspect he might be a hacker. Neptune is a thoughtful man in his early 40s. He's kind of a dreamer and probably the most creative one in the group. You can often find him lost in thought or swept away by music. He's almost always wearing his large blue headphones. He's very sensitive and has a high emotional intelligence. This quality draws others in. That's not all. Let's look at a space body that used to be a planet, Pluto. It's a very young teenager, quiet and often overlooked. But he has a surprising amount of depth. Despite his introverted nature, he has a group of close-knit friends. It might take time to get to know him, but those who gain his trust discover his different side, endearing and witty. The sun is a big boss. No one knows how old he is because he looks ageless. Rumor has it he frequents beauty clinics, but shh! The sun knows his worth and uniqueness. He's quite caring and nice to his subordinates, but he's also rather hot-tempered, and when he gets angry, he expresses his displeasure openly, often by throwing stuff. The moon is a shy 18-year-old girl. It's hard for her to make new friends. She prefers to keep close to the only friend she has, which is Earth. To her, Earth is a motherly figure who can protect and give valuable advice. The moon has some skin problems, which also makes her feel rather insecure. But don't worry, Earth is working on her confidence. Greetings to all watching our video quiz. Today, we will be taking a fascinating journey through space. The questions will range from simple ones that can be answered quickly to challenging ones that will require some thought. Be focused and resourceful, and you will be able to pass the quiz and become true space experts. Which planet has the highest density? Jupiter, Earth, Venus, Mercury. The Earth's density is 5.52 grams per cubic centimeter. This is because the Earth is made up mostly of rocky materials, which have a high density. Which planet has 6,000 artificial satellites? Earth, Venus, Mars. Jupiter. These satellites are used for a variety of purposes, including telecommunications, navigation, surveillance, meteorology, space exploration, and more. What large astral body is closest to Earth? Mars. Polaris. Sun. Moon. This is too easy. Which planet was first discovered with a telescope? Moon. Uranus. Earth. Venus. Uranus was discovered in 1781 by English astronomer William Herschel. Uranus had been observed before Herschel, but it was mistaken for a star. On which planet can you find diamond rain? Mercury. Mars. Jupiter. Uranus. In the upper layers of Uranus's atmosphere, the temperature is about minus 220 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, methane breaks down into hydrogen and carbon. As the temperature continues to drop and the pressure increases, the carbon forms diamond crystals. These crystals then fall to the planet's core under the force of gravity. What stars in the universe have a rotation speed of 600 revolutions per second? White dwarfs, red dwarfs, neutron, brown dwarfs. Pulsars are neutron stars that formed as a result of a supernova explosion. They spin so fast that they emit radiation in a beam. Which planet has the most moons? Earth, Saturn, Mars, Jupiter. Saturn has 82 confirmed moons, including the largest moons in the solar system, Titan, Rhea, and Enceladus. What phenomena keep planets in a stable orbit around the Sun? Magnetic field, gravity, solar wind, inertia. The force of gravity between the Sun and the planets keeps the planets in their orbits. What color is the sky on the Moon? Orange, white, blue, black. The Moon has no atmosphere, so there is nothing to scatter sunlight. This is why the sky on the Moon appears black, even during the day. On which planet does wind speed exceed supersonic? Earth, Neptune, Jupiter, Mercury. The wind speed on Neptune is the fastest in the solar system. It can reach 2,400 kilometers per hour, which is twice the speed of sound. What protects Earth from meteors and solar radiation? Jupiter, gravity, atmosphere. Elon Musk. The Earth's atmosphere is a mixture of gases that absorb and scatter solar radiation. This protects the Earth from harmful ultraviolet radiation. The atmosphere also protects the Earth from meteors, breaking them up into smaller fragments. Which planets have rings? Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus. Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. Saturn's rings are the most famous. Jupiter's rings are much less bright and are made up of small dust particles and rock fragments. Uranus's rings are made up of many thin rings and have a bluish tint due to the presence of ice. Neptune's rings have a reddish tint due to the presence of organic compounds. Which star is closest to Earth? Betelgeuse, Polar, Sun, Alpha Centauri. This is again too easy. The trajectory of the planet's movement in space is orbit, diurnal, starburst, eclipse. That's right. What is the cause of the hexagon on Saturn? Magnetic field. Gravitational influence of the Sun. Wind. Counterclockwise rotation of Saturn. The hexagon on Saturn is a giant atmospheric vortex. It has a hexagonal shape due to the specific movement of winds in the atmosphere. The hexagon has existed for billions of years and is one of the most stable atmospheric phenomena in the solar system. How many questions did you answer correctly? Write in the comments. Space is an immense and enigmatic universe that holds many mysteries. We are only just beginning to explore it, and there are many more discoveries waiting for us. I hope you enjoyed our quiz. I wish you all the best in your future studies of space.